Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Shatter podcast, episode 13. I am your host, Sean, and I wholeheartedly would like to thank you for joining me once again this week. This week's episode was supposed to be Sonder Change, however, I made a change, and instead today's episode is called Helpless. Because, unfortunately, right now life is presented itself some circumstances and situations to where that's sort of what's on my heart right now. And I felt, why not dedicate an episode towards that feeling, because I know for a fact I'm not the only one that knows that feeling. Anybody who has people they care about that are going through something that you really don't have a lot you can do to help them with, know that feeling. You know how hard it is to watch somebody you love and care about dealing with something that you can't take away. So I felt, if anybody else is going through that right now, then hopefully this can be something where you kind of feel, if nothing else, you just feel like, you feel like you're in company right now. I know we're not in person, but I hope that if you're listening and you're going through something similar, then you can at least find some relief or companionship. I didn't write this one out. This is just me off the cuff talking to you guys. It's not a casual Friday or nothing. I thought about just making it a casual Friday, but that's not what this is, because it still is, at least I'm intending for it to be a episode dedicated to feeling helplessness and how to process through it, how to address it, how to accept it, and take care of yourself through it. And I hate talking about my perspective on this one, because it's not me going through something like this. Without getting any specifics, two people who mean the world to me have been going through some medical things lately. And one just went over a hurdle, and now they're on the road to trying to get back to normal, trying to improve. So that's great. But the other is still going through an issue, and possibly maybe finding themselves in another hurdle they've got to go over. So there was a procedure done, and now we're just waiting to find out exactly what's going on. And that's the waiting game. And the hardest part about the waiting game is you just don't know. And now we're just waiting to know. And I don't like being vague, especially on this podcast, but right now it's just, it's not really my business to put out there, because we're still just in a phase of finding out what's going on for sure. And by the time this comes out, who knows? Who will know what by then? But just because no one knows at the moment, and we're just not sure of what is going on right now, I'm not gonna dive into specifics, but even though it's not me going through this, what they're dealing with, I know a lot of people know the feeling well, about feeling helpless, feeling like there's nothing you can do, there's no way you can help, or if you do help in comforting or reassuring, you wish you could do more. And I think that that's just kind of what motivated me to do this episode instead of Sonder and Change. One reason being I haven't even started writing Sonder and Change. I made that episode, I decided on that episode when I was watching something, and it sparked the idea. So I started it very minor, to the point where I knew what I was talking about. I knew the structure I wanted, but I haven't even started writing it because just my mind has not been in a good place. My focus has been worse just because I'm thinking about everything and just worried and stressed. So I haven't been able to really dedicate to writing it. But most importantly, why I decided to do this episode this week was because before COVID, I was part of a Bible study group, and you'd go over testimonials sometimes, and the weekly lesson would be what we would refer to as whatever was on our heart at the time. Whatever God seemed to be telling us, or whatever we were being shown, or what we were feeling that week, or I should say whatever they were feeling like that week, they would talk about in the lesson. Basically, just whatever's on your heart, you talk about. So that's why I did this episode this week, because right now, as recording this, which is Thursday, the 17th of February, that's what's on my heart. And as much as I love structure, as much as I love scheduling, I don't like changing episodes like this. I don't plan on making it a habit either. However, one benefit of this being my podcast is I can give you guys what I feel I'm supposed to give you. And I do apologize if somebody was looking forward to this episode of Sonder and Change. I do apologize. That will be out next week. However, I also like the fact that I can be transparent and be honest with you guys in terms of bringing you what's going on with me, and trying my very best to use what I'm going through to, if nothing else, give somebody else who's going through something similar some companionship, or knowing that other people are going through something similar, so you don't feel quite as alone or singled out by the universe. So I do apologize for any dead space and an abundance of ums. I also wanted to apologize for the last 2 weeks for my voice. I recorded 11 and 12 back to back because I found myself in a time period where I was able to record in complete quiet, in complete audio friendly environment. So I took the chance and recorded. But that day my voice was rough, so it you could tell. Listening back, I could tell my voice was not coming across as strong as I'd like it to. It was rough and it was beaten up a little bit, so I do apologize for that. Today isn't much different, but it is a little better. My voice is a little weak today, but I think it's better than it was the last recordings that I did. So I do apologize though if the audio seemed a bit off that way. So this is one of those episodes and moments that I would like to do a live podcast, but it's kind of hard to do that when you're on a schedule, which is why I'm considering doing a second side podcast that may not be as structured or as quite as, I mean, it still could even be scheduled. I'm thinking of like an evening time live where I can go back and forth. But anyway, it's never easy whenever you feel like somebody you care about is, you try your best to be able to comfort somebody, to be able to be there, try to resolve things that's going on, try to fix things, try to alleviate stress. And then you get these situations that come up where your hands are tied. You really can't do much. You can't do anything sometimes, especially when it comes to medical things. You're kind of just forced to wait with them and support however you can. But no matter how much you try, no matter how much they tell you you're making a difference and helping, when you love somebody and when you care about somebody, you always want to do more. That's just how it is. You always want to do more for those you love, especially when they're going through a hard time or potentially going through a hard time. So what I try to do is I try to process how I'm feeling. I try to process my thought process, my way of reacting, how and why I'm feeling how I'm feeling. So to be transparent, I'm in a state currently that I'm just neutral, I guess. It almost feels like I'm in shutdown mode, whereas I'm not super. It's such a hard way to describe. I'm in a place right now where I'm just here. You know what I mean? I'm waking up and I am going through the motions. I'm just trying my best to, I don't even know. I'm trying my best to be there for them. Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm just kind of shutting off my energy and focusing it so it's just to be able to help them or do something for them, and not really kind of shutting off the valve towards myself. Just only because I can't, it's hard for me to do anything right now, motivation wise or interest wise. I'll find myself interested in something, but then I just kind of dissolves to where I'm almost just, all that I'm doing while I'm awake is waiting. That's kind of what it is. If somebody asked me how I'm doing or what I'm doing, honestly, the only true honest answer that I can say is I'm just waiting. That's my state right now. And I hate that. And it does nothing because I can't make the time go faster. I can't manifest answers. I can't do anything like that, but my mind is crippled to the point where I'm just waiting. And that's not healthy. That's not healthy because you let other things slide. You let communication with people slide. You let self-maintenance slide, hygiene, and just things like that. I'm talking less. I'm not really engaging much with people lately because all my energy it's being tunneled into just waiting. Fortunately, through the span of my life, I have been blessed with the fact that no matter what I'm going through, after a certain point in my life, no matter what I'm going through, I have this burning core in my soul to where I know things will be okay, even when my anxieties and my fears and my worries and my depression are telling me it's not. Even right now, I am worried, I'm stressed, I am concerned. But I truly, in my core, feel things will be okay. It's just until you get there, you know what I mean? I don't know the future. I don't know for a fact things will be great. However, I have this burning inside me that's telling me things will be okay. And I believe it. I truly believe it. There is no logic to it. There is no earth-binding element to it. It is what it is. It is what I believe that is God's way of almost kind of like a tattoo. It's always on me. It's always inside me. It's like a tattoo that doubles as a hug, if that makes sense. It's like I feel like it's God's way of reminding me when my body and my mind is trying to convince me otherwise that it's going to be okay. That's why when I tell somebody when they're going through something, this situation specifically, when I say things are going to be fine, we're going to get you fixed up. That's not me sugarcoating. That's not me padding the reality. That's me telling the truth. That's me being honest. Because I feel it. But we're human. We're not perfect. We're human. So the worry's there. The stress is there. The concern is there. And we just have to do our best to process through that. And for both our perseverance, or keeping us going, as well as for them. Being that pillar for them. Being that sense of support, of encouragement, optimism. And that's why self-awareness is so important, because without it, you will find yourself in some dark places. And I have found myself many times in very dark places. It was interesting. I was at the hospital yesterday. That's when everything kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Flared up. And I was there with who's going through stuff right now. And while I was waiting for them to come out of short procedure, I saw somebody First time I've seen them in probably 8 years, at least. Funny enough, one of the reasons why I thought to make this episode 2 is because it was a person I talked about in episode 1. All the way back in episode 1, I mentioned about this person, and here I am at the hospital, having been told something from the doctor that kind of started this flare up of concern. And maybe 10 minutes after talking to the doctor, I see this person in the hallway. And her and I talk for a little bit. But it was just... It's kind of weird how you run into people you know in certain situations. Years ago, I was in the hospital for an abscess tooth. This is like probably about 15 years ago, maybe. Like, it's been a while, and I was in the hospital in the ER, and my uncle showed up. Well, not my uncle, but he's like my second cousin or whatever. But him and his mom showed up, and it seems like another time I was at the hospital at a Med Express, my buddy Justin was there. So have you ever noticed just how when you're at like a hospital or a Med Express or something and you're going through something, you'll see somebody you know? Sometimes I wonder, because I don't believe too much in coincidences. I believe things happen how they're supposed to happen. And what I try to wonder is, well, I can't help it, but what I wonder sometimes is that God's way to try to take your mind off of what's going on? Which in this case it didn't. I mean, I'm still worried and thinking about it, but it did make me curious of the timing. The hospital we were at isn't a hospital I go to often. I couldn't tell you the last time I was at this certain hospital. But I'm waiting in the hallway, and there she is. And it's also interesting how even with masks on, you know somebody when you see them. But it was just curious to me. Like I said, I don't really believe in coincidences, so I was curious why I seen her at this moment. I just thought it was interesting, if nothing else. But then when I thinking about her, I thought about episode 1. And I thought about it just seemed like things were telling me to do a podcast about this. And so who knows, maybe somebody needs to hear this one this week. If that's the case, please tell me. Things like that really matter to me, to anybody, really. It's kind of like how, for example, sometimes if it's late at night and Joel Osteen's on TV or another televangelist, and whenever you walk by the TV and they're talking about the exact thing you're going through, you'd be lying if you didn't say it at least made you think, Things like that is one of the biggest reasons why I have the faith I have. One way I try to help one way I try to help deal with the feeling of helplessness is I try to verbalize my feelings. I will say things like, Sean, you can't change anything by worrying. You can't change anything by waiting. You can't change anything by thinking about it too long. All that's doing is draining your energy, and it's taking time away from other things that could be productive, that can be helpful. I ask myself, at what point am I spending so much time worrying that I could have been using that time to be the helpful person that I want to be? At what point do you need to be at to realize that sometimes you're hindering the very thing you're wishing you could do more of? That's why I was like, okay, we're recording this episode. It was either I record this episode now, or I just sit at my desk, stare at my screen, trying whatever I can to distract myself. Meanwhile, all this time's going by and I'm not doing anything. I think the feeling of helplessness is one of the strongest, hardest emotions. I don't know if it's really considered an emotion, but feelings that you can have, because it's exactly what it is. You can't instant fix that feeling because you can't fix what's going on, and that just bothers you, because it bothers me. I talked about it in, I believe it was last week's, in episode 12, how sometimes it's hard not to, when you're talking to somebody, go right into fix mode or right into let me help you mode. Sometimes you got to check yourself and listen instead of just want to speak. Even if you feel like what you have to say could change their life, if you've convinced yourself of that or not, sometimes you have to check yourself in order to listen to that person. And it's the same way with when you're feeling helpless. You've got to check yourself to realizing what's in your control and what's out of your control. Interestingly enough, my therapist gave me a paper that I haven't filled out yet, which I think I will actually after I'm done recording this. It's a paper to where you write inside a sphere what you can control and then what you can't control. It's a practice of, or what's the right word? It's a exercise of understanding what's in your control and what's not in your control. It's trying to, funny enough, it's trying to help somebody understand how to handle what I'm going through right now. You see what I mean? Like that's what I mean. Things don't happen just for no reason, by coincidence. I'm talking about this, I'm struggling with this, and I have a paper in my possession that is supposed to help me through things like this. That's one of the biggest examples of why my faith is how it is, why I believe in God the way I do. Because I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in design. I believe in reasoning. But back to what I was saying, it's supposed to help you put in place your thought process of working too hard on something that you cannot change. So when we're feeling helpless, one of the best things we can do, both for ourselves and for those we want to help, is to understand what it is that we can do, accept the things that we can't do, and then take those realizations in order to better process and conduct ourselves. Anybody who's listening, wherever you're listening at, if you're listening on YouTube, I would love for you to put in the comments kind of what you do when you're feeling helpless, ways that you help deal with it. If you're listening through a audio platform, a podcasting like Apple or Spotify, Stitcher, if you're listening through just something like that, go to the Facebook and leave comments underneath the post for this episode and talk about it there. There's places for interaction and back and forth. I would just love to hear what you guys do to help deal with feeling helpless. It could be something that I do also. It could be something I never in a million years would have thought to try or consider. I think it's very valuable, the ability and the chances we get to listen to others. Communication is something that goes so underrated because people don't realize the value in talking, and more importantly, people don't realize the value in listening. I don't like being on this side of things. For those of you who follow the podcast or know me personally, you know what I've been through to an extent. You know a lot of big things I've been through medically, and so I have built up this, I don't know what word to use. I'm definitely I am most likely going to do another episode about this because I'm all over the place. I'm not super structured on this because, like I said, I'm just talking with you guys. So I would like to revisit this topic, being able to write it out first and really put it together better. But I've been conditioned to really not like this side of things. I don't like being the patient either, but I really don't like this side of things. And even more so than that, this person doesn't belong on that side of it. This person has never deserved to be on this side, on that side of this situation. So there's a bunch of worry and stress, but I'd be lying if I didn't say there was a bit of animosity on my part, because no good person deserves to go through hard things like medical issues like that. Any severe medical issue, they don't deserve to go through that. And like I said, we don't even know if that's what it is. But the fact that it could be, no good person deserves to go through something like that. And I just don't like being on this side of it. I don't like seeing people I love and care about going through something scary, going through something potentially very hard and terrifying. I don't like it. They don't deserve it. I mean, I didn't deserve it either, but the blessing that I have, the blessing that blossomed and grew from the soil of hardship that I've been through, has provided me with the ability to at least understand what they're feeling to a degree. Whenever you have the chance or had the experience of walking or running the same race that they may be having to run themselves, you at least can tell them and help give them advice or give them expectancies to better prepare them, to better strengthen their armor if they need to put that on. So it's kind of like why I stopped being mad about the things I've went through a long time ago, because I realized that's what made me me. That's why I am who I am, because of what I went through. That's why we all are who we are, because of what we went through. So maybe because I do feel like things will be okay, because I feel like things are going to work out, because I feel as if God is telling me that things will be okay, He is reassuring me that things will be okay, it makes me think maybe I went through what I went through because of this. And not to fault anybody, maybe this is what I was supposed to be able to help them with. Maybe my experiences were there in order for me to better help somebody else going through something they're going through, or may possibly be going through. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping that we get told it's not what it could be in our minds. And that's kind of like, that kind of reminds me that I'm not completely healed myself, because I don't even want to say the word. But it's probably because being on this side of it is a whole other animal to me. So I'm just hoping that it's not that. And that's not what the reasoning is. Because I don't want it to be that. I want it to be something that is not too severe, that can get just handled and knocked out quick, and then back onto the road of normalcy. So I'm certainly praying for that. And anybody listening, I would appreciate some prayers for me and my loved ones. But however it ends up being, whatever news we get, I truly do believe that it will be okay. That we will power through it. We will get through it. I truly do believe that. My demons whisper and try to convince me otherwise. Because, and what I mean by that, if somebody doesn't understand what I mean by that, my thoughts run wild. I will think of the worst case scenarios and the worst possible outcomes and things like that, my thoughts will just kind of gather and pounce on me, and it'll try to show me things and try to make them out as signs of something negative, or trying to convince me that something bad's happening, because I see signs in events. I see things as signs. I see things as little messages or hints. So my mind will play tricks on me, and it will take things and try to make them seem like they're signs of something bad gonna happen. Or because, like, for example, seeing who I saw at the hospital, I talked about her in an episode that was titled Temporary People. So my mind, being how it is, it tried to be like, that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign that it isn't gonna be okay. But that fire inside me burns that thought, because I truly feel things will be okay. I truly believe things will be okay. And what I'm feeling is my mind fighting my soul, fighting my beliefs. And yeah, the truth is, I don't know for a fact it will be okay. But I know that I say it with my entire heart, and I truly believe it when I say that I believe things will be okay. I truly believe things will be okay. I'm just scared right now. I know they're scared right now. And I'm trying my best to be there for them. Be that pillar for them. And they don't listen to my podcast, so I can be like that with you guys. I can tell you guys this without worrying about them hearing it and then it upsetting them, to not upsetting them, but making them feel like they're a burden, because they're not. They're the furthest thing from a burden to me. I would fight anybody for them. You know, I would go up against anybody, anything for them. And it's just hard because I can't fight this. I can't attack this. I can't protect them from this. All I can do is offer my support and offer my comfort, offer my any bit of mental, emotional strength I can to them. And it hurts that I can't do more, but sometimes that is enough. You need to realize and tell yourself that being upset at the things you can't do does nothing, but doing the best at what you can do means everything. I put myself in that position when I would go through something like that, and people telling me, you know, I'm here, and like people that I know for a fact are there, people that pray for me or prayed for me and send me well wishes and things like that. That makes a difference. It honestly makes a difference. So I'm trying to also tell myself, you know, Sean, you may want to do more. You may want to fix things more than you feel you can. But you also need to realize that what you are doing makes a difference. Even if it's not as big as a difference as I want it to be, I know it makes a difference. So that's kind of what I try to do to help myself with this helpless feeling. So all we really can do right now is wait for the call and figure out the next step after that. again, I just pray every single night, multiple times throughout the day, that is not something too severe, that it's something that can be taken care of as least invasive as possible. But if it is something that is a little more complex and a little more scary, I just pray for the strength to handle it. I pray for the medical professionals who will handle it. And I just pray for the best of the situation and for everything to be okay and to keep them safe and protect them and heal them. And I truly do feel, as I say that to you guys, I can say that and feel a warmth that it's going to be. I can't logically explain it to you guys, but I truly feel it's going to be okay. And that is one of the things that gives me hope, because it isn't just my beliefs, it's that feeling of confirmation, that feeling of my soul having a hand on its shoulder as reassurance. I really hope that you guys listening, somebody who may have been, if by chance you've been struggling with some form of helplessness, I hope that this has somehow gave you some relief, gave you some form of comfort or companionship. I certainly hope that you're not struggling with it. If you are, though, I certainly hope you found some peace with this. And for those of you listening, and words that I hope I can take myself, always keep in mind the fact that being there for somebody means more than you realize, because in life we're faced so many times with difficulties, be it medical, finances, emotions, whatever it is, we're faced with difficult things, and sometimes you're faced with people that amplify those difficulties. There is unfortunately a lot of bad people out in the world, a lot of negative people out in the world, and sometimes it feels like we can't avoid them people. We can't avoid the people who are negative, who go into situations just seeing the bad, seeing the negative, no hope, no optimism whatsoever. But when we meet that person who just kind of wraps us up and tells us, doesn't sugarcoat, but tells us, listen, it can be rough. This may be a tough time, but we're getting through it together. That is a giant that you're facing, but you're not facing it alone. When you're just wanting to do more, when you're wanting to you don't realize at the time when you want to do more how much you're actually doing already. So if you're feeling like you're just helpless and you're not doing much of anything, that you're not helping somebody, listen to the way they talk to you. Look in their eyes. Look in the way they react. Look in the way they conduct themselves with you, and feel the difference that you've made. Pay attention to the way they look at you. That is, when somebody looks at you and you can see that they appreciate you, you can see that they trust you, that when they look at you, you can tell they feel at home, they feel safe. That is a feeling you can't fake. You know, you can't fake that feeling. You can't replace that feeling. That is a feeling that you can go back to remember just how much of a difference you make, how helpful you really are, even if you want to be 10 times more helpful. It's important to tell yourself, don't run yourself down on what you can't do, because that's only going to hinder what you can do. Now, I hope that this was a good episode for you guys. I feel like it would be. I feel like I made the right call with it. Like I said, I don't plan on making a habit of switching episodes last minute like this. Like I said, I'm recording this on before 12 even comes out, so I'll probably make it known that I switched the episode before it comes out. But I certainly hope that I didn't disappoint. I certainly hope I didn't give a less than episode. I don't feel like I have, because though it wasn't as structured as I like it to be, and I would like to revisit this topic, this was me. This was raw. This was me. This is me at my core. And every episode is me at my core, but as you can tell, when I write things out, I truly feel like when I write things out, I'm better explaining things, and I'm giving a better insight into things. Because when I write, I'm in this whole other zone where I can conduct and express myself a lot better, compared to like now when I'm just talking and it's all kind of just coming out and jumbled up in my mind. When I write things out, it makes things a lot more clear. But something like this, I really just wanted to come out and talk to you guys as authentic and as raw as I can. So I truly hope that this episode was good for you guys. Next week there will be Sonder Change, where we talk about the concept of understanding that somebody else's life is all their own, and everything that happens with them is significant, and everything that's significant to you is all like side story to them, if they even know you. If they don't know you, everything going on in your life is completely unaware to them. It's a mind trip to think about, really. Also, change, something, as I said last week when I was saying about it this week, something that I have a hard time accepting sometimes. So hopefully that'll be a therapeutic for me as well. However, that episode will be coming out next week, which will now be episode 14 instead of 13. But I truly appreciate all you guys that came to join me again this week, came back for some more. I appreciate every single one of you who tell your friends about this podcast, share out the post, and leave likes and comments and reviews. I truly appreciate it so much. The more people that see this podcast and have the opportunity to listen, the more people it can spread to, and hopefully the more people it can reach that it needs to reach. So I truly just appreciate you guys so much. I hope the rest of your day is as wonderful as you are, and I just thank you for being here. I truly do. I mean, I say it every week, I know, but I truly appreciate every single one of you who are still with me right now, who listened to the entire episode. I truly thank you with all my heart. This is the Shatter and Breathe podcast. I am Sean, and as always, please be thankful, be safe. And God bless every single one of you.